Okay. Hi. All glorious Mother Atasha, all glorious religion of love, all glorious to the assembled devotees. O Lord God, please help us live out these teachings to be an example in the world. Jai. Okay. So where do we leave off at? So last class we talked about how's our thoughts bring forth our feelings bring forth actions, and actions bring forth reactions, and therefore by our thoughts we can create our life, or we do create our life, and then change your thoughts, you can change your life. And then after that, and though much had been spoken and much shared, still the people pressed me, for they were hungry to hear of her. And so I told of another time, on the plains, of the heat and dust, the thousands who came to hear, and of one who did run after her, that he might ask, if a man would be perfect, what must he do? And of her answer, and how she turned to him, saying, rejoice, for already are you perfect. You are more brilliant than 1,000,000 suns. But now, in illusion, you are as the sun when covered by cloud, and so do not experience your true state of perfection. It is by the cleansing practice of religion that the cloud of ignorance is cleared away, and with it your illusion. And to the people she said, all spiritual practices are as a cleansing and a clearing, for already are you perfect, only covered by illusion. If a man would be perfect, what must he do? Good question. And perfection, that's a relative term too. One person's idea of perfection may be different than another person's idea, but let's just say beyond all of our ideas, and perfection as God is perfect in heaven. Not that we can be like God, of course. God is the only one who has no second, no equal. But to have all the same perfect, nice qualities of a pure devotee of the Lord, of a true holy man or woman, whose heart is so purified of all material contamination, of all material desires, of all the false bodily conception of life, whose desires, their strength, their will, their mind, their whole heart is given over 100% in loving service unto the Supreme Lord, blissfully so. If that is our definition of perfection, of our hearts, our consciousness being completely aligned in love, well, or enlightenment, spiritual realization, God consciousness, whatever nomenclature we might give, but in a sense, the highest state of being that any man can attain. Now, enlightenment, spiritual realization, is romantically thought of as this big quest that you have to go out and seek or find or search for. Pilgrimage across distant, far-off lands. Travel to a holy place, associate with holy people, hoping from them to get something, to get some blessing, to get some realization, to be blessed with enlightenment. And the idea is that it's got to be found outside. I need to be in a better environment, a more holy place to get enlightenment, or I need to have someone else bless it for me. I need to find the right teacher. So of course, that is very good. And so is also being in the holy place. Or I need to study all the ancient texts and absorb as much knowledge as I can, thinking that by absorbing all this knowledge, then through that I'll get realization. Knowledge is good, reading is good, but not a place, not a person, not a book can give us the experience of ourselves enlightened that we may seek. All of them can remind us of what is already there within, just covered over and forgotten. Where she says, well, if you want to be perfect, well, rejoice. Already are you perfect. You don't have to find perfection. You don't have to seek out enlightenment. You don't have to wait upon someone else to bless it for you, give it to you. You are always, eternally, and always have been enlightened. Just covered over. And she gives this example. Just like a sun, the sun, when covered by cloud, we say, oh, there's no sun out today, or you can't see the sun. The sun is there, but we say there is no sun. It's just covered over. Just remove the cloud, and you will experience all that blinding, shining light. And such is the state of the spirit soul. The spirit soul, which is more brilliant than 1,000,000 suns, pure spirit energy. So bright, but it's just covered over by cloud. But this cloud is the illusion of ignorance. Or another word for ignorance is forgetfulness. Forgetfulness of our true spiritual identity. Not this body, that's our temporary false identity, our false ego. Ego means identity. So it's your false ego, your false identification with the body and mind as the self. Whereas true ego, true or real identity, your eternal identity, is that of an eternal spirit soul, the beloved lover, servant of God. And that is our actual, natural, and eternal position, which is full of knowledge and is ecstatically blissful. That, in our natural state, is this perfection. This is this enlightenment, this God consciousness, spiritual realization. It's just your natural, original, true self, your real consciousness. Not the cloud that you're experiencing now, the cloud of the mind. All this ignorance, all that forgetfulness of your true nature. No. So how do you become enlightened? Well, you gotta move away the clouds. And how do you do that? Well, all spiritual practices, be they hearing the word of God, chanting the holy names of God, remembering God, worship, prayer, so many forms of devotional service. All of them, they just cleanse away the dirt of ignorance that covers the heart. And it doesn't matter which name of God you call upon, just as it doesn't really matter which brand of soap you use. Just use any one of them to good use and you'll get clean. Right, you'll clear away the illusion. I think it's coming later on in this book, maybe another book, but another good example is the spirit soul is compared to a nugget of gold, pure gold, but buried in a mountain of dirt. And going along with the analogy that all religions are like digging a well. On the surface they're different, but the goal is the same as water. Well, think of all of your spiritual practices, or as I like to think in my mind, it's like we're miners. We're miners searching for a heart of gold, like the Tom Petty song. digging away through all this dirt, all this muck, all this material contamination of the mind and false ego, and all these material attachments and painful negative thoughts in the mind. All those things, little by little, get cleared away, and you dig deeper and deeper and deeper, and you finally reach the gold, the wonderful, beautiful, shining, valuable gold. And the gold was always there. You just had to remove the dirt. That was it. You didn't have to purchase it. Didn't have to get it from somebody. It was always there, right under the nose. So it's a wonderful teaching because it's become very empowering now, the process of spiritual realization. Many have the misconception that spiritual realization or enlightenment is impossible. It's only for a few elite. It's pretty much impossible. Well, that's all rubbish. Not only is it possible for everyone already is it. You just gotta clear away the dirt. Just do the work. Return home to love. Everyone already is a pure, beautiful, holy, wonderful, loving, sweet, kind, generous, eternal devotee of the Lord. Just waiting to be reawakened. That's all of us, really. And that's our happiest, natural state to be in loving service. It's our happiest state of being. And I know it may be a little disconcerting to some who think service is a menial thing and a negative. But service is actually the greatest joy one can ever experience when done in the proper mood, to the proper recipient. Just like when you're totally in love with somebody, you love them so much, and you want to do something nice for them, or surprise them, or, Why? Just because it makes them happy, and to see them happy makes you happy. This is that loving mood. Now that's the mood of a devotee. And it's a mood of loving service. Loving service. Just like someone who really, really loves their dog, how much they serve their dog by petting them, buying them nice treats, taking them to dog parks, when they get sick, sparing no expense for their care. What is the dog going to give back except love? And that's all that the dog owner cares for, is love. So this mood of loving service can be reawakened in every single one of us if we engage in devotional service, spiritual practices that cleanse away the heart of all the contamination of things not of love, really. If you want to call that cloud in something simple, you can say it's the things that is not of love, because once that all that stuff is gone, all that is left is pure love. And love is really the only word that comes even remotely close to describing the eternal, ecstatic, spiritual, the experience of God. And what, asked another, is the practice? What must we do? We know many are the ways. We already know of prayer, meditation, of worship, charity, and more. Yes, laughed his friend, we know, but we never do. Ha ha ha. For we find them difficult to do, agreed the first. But there is one practice said to be the easiest way to liberation, the simplest way to come again to God. And so we asked of her, speak then on the chanting of the holy name of God. This is true. There is scriptural references that do say that in this our time, one of the most potent, powerful, and direct means of reaching God through a spiritual practice is through just directly calling His name. Makes kind of sense though, right? Because if I wanted to get your attention, I'd call your name, right? I'd say, hey, you know. Well, if you want to get the Lord's attention, well, call His name. And it is a very, very powerful, very, very simple practice, which is fairly relatively easy to do in comparison to a lot of other things out there. Chanting the names of God is universal. It's applicable to all major religions. All religions chant. And it's something that you can do anywhere, at any time, and you don't need anything at all to do it. You just need to speak the holy name of God and hear it. That's it. Pretty easy, right? Well, how does it work exactly? Why does chanting names of God, why is it such an easy or direct way to the spiritual world, to liberation, right? Well, and this she did that all might understand, explaining, the Lord and His name are non-different. In the world we know, the name of an object and the object itself are different. Just by saying the word water, we cannot quench a thirst. But God and the name of God are not of the world we know, but of the Spirit. It is in the holy name of God, the Lord and His name being one and the same, that we come into the very presence of God Himself, and by His presence are we purified, so that all the dirt of ignorance, all that is troublesome to the heart, is washed away, and our true spiritual self revealed. The Lord and His name are non-different. That's that omnipotent, omniscient power of God, you know. He is 100% God, in all His glory, in all His power, in all His eternal nature, in every single one of His holy names, and in His scriptures, and in descriptions of His glories and pastimes. See, the Lord is non-different even from His service. See, even to render pure service unto the Lord, that service itself, the Lord is the Lord Himself, because it's service unto Him. It's on the transcendental plane. It is spiritual. Anything spiritual is of God. So, water. If I just say water, 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 water when I'm really thirsty, it's not going to quench my thirst. It's not going to relieve me, because the object of water itself and the name of water are two different things. But the Lord is absolute. He is the supreme. He doesn't have a material name. It's not a material word, nor is the recitation of His name a material sound vibration, although it appears as such. It is a transcendental sound vibration that is non-different from the Lord Himself. So God is actually present in his name. So, the Lord and his name being one and the same, that we come into the very presence of God himself, and by his presence are we purified. This is this law of association. Whenever we associate with people, we become more alike, no? We associate with thieves, eventually we're going to steal. If I associate with people who are really, really into soccer, I might get into soccer too, or football, sorry, if you're on the other side of the world hearing this. So, association always has an effect. It rubs off on each other, right? Hanging out with really positive people, you feel good after it. After that, hanging out with really negative people, you feel down after that. I wonder why. Association always has an effect. And who better to associate with, who better to spend your company with than God himself, Almighty, the Supreme Lord. Who's pure love incarnate. He's love personified. He's the source of all of us, source of all knowledge, source of all creation and maintenance and destruction of the material cosmic manifestation. The Lord, who is the greatest friend and well-wisher of everyone, who wants nothing more than for us to be free from suffering and be happy. Just like any kind and loving father wants for all his children to be happy. And that's all he wants for us. And he wants us to come home to the spiritual world because that's where we're happiest. Where we're over here playing in the naughty prison house. And he's sending reminders, hey, this is a world of suffering. All your actions on the material platform seeking sensory pleasures of the body, which are material activities, are going to have material reactions, and you're going to get entangled in karmic reactions, and it's just going to make you further and further and further down the rabbit hole of illusion, and further and further away from the truth, from the experience of God, from love, from real happiness that lasts. Associating with God himself. Just being in the presence of God, just like you can imagine, just basking in that glory, just melting away all the frozen hardness of the heart. All that dirt, all that ignorance is blasting away, little by little, just chanting every name of God you chant, just purifying your heart, coming closer to God, closer to the experience of love. So all that is troublesome to the heart is washed away, and our true spiritual self revealed. So, true spiritual self revealed. Someone asked Lord Buddha, "You are so incredible. I could never be like you." And the Buddha says, "I am exactly like you. The only difference is I am awake." And as my master described it, spiritual realization or self-realization is like waking up from a bad dream. When you have a nightmare and you wake up, you're like, okay, it was just a dream. Oh, thank goodness. Wow, back to reality now. It's kind of like that. Grind, clean, chant, spiritual practice, purify the heart. The holy grind. Little by little, every day. Don't give up. Eventually, just poof, you cleaned enough and bam, you just wake up. You wake up to self-realization, which is Aham Brahmasmi. I am spirit soul. The realization that you're not the body, but you are spirit soul. And then you start experiencing spiritual happiness. And that starts increasing little by little. Then you start really practicing devotional service. But it all starts with doing the work. So, if you're going to try and reach the gold and you don't want to get your hands dirty, or you don't want to do the work, well, unfortunately, nobody can do this work for you. This is something everybody has to do for their self. And it's a lot of work. And it takes time. Lifetimes even. But it could be just this lifetime. If you just do the work, clean, 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 and then wake up to your eternal, natural self. And chanting is a very, very wonderful, wonderful practice. And here's some more information about it. And the friend asked, "But which name of God? For you have taught there is only one God, but that he has unlimited names." And she answered him, "All the names of God are good, for all the names of God are God. It is not a name we call, but God we call." Right? As I said before, all the names of God are good. He is 100% himself in every one of his name, whether it be Allah, Abba, Krishna, doesn't matter. God is God. God once reached is God. And the other asked, "Is one way of chanting God's name better than another?" And again she answered, "There are not any hard and fast rules. What matters most," she said, "is not the way of chanting, nor the words of chanting, but the love in the chanting." So, there's no hard and fast rules. I know everyone wants the quick fix. Everyone wants the diet pill. They want to just take the shortcut. What's the quick road to enlightenment? And unfortunately, there aren't any things you can do. Like if I did it harder this way, I get faster results. No. You just got to do it. And all the great masters and saints that came before, when asked, "How do you get better at chanting?" Keep chanting, keep chanting, keep chanting. Practice makes perfect. What matters most is not the style in which you chant, whether you chant quietly to yourself, just so that you can hear, or out loud so that even others can hear, singing it, whispering it, sitting down, standing up, walking. Doesn't matter. It's what's in here that matters, in your heart. The love in the chanting. The more love you put into something, well, isn't it usually the case? When we put more time, energy, attention, put more love into something, the better things turn out, the better the results. And another way of explaining love could be attention. So giving our full attention to something. Like you give your attention to someone who's talking to you, they feel loved when you're talking. When they're talking to you, they feel like they're being heard. Same thing, we give our full attention to hearing the name of God when we chant it. And that is the love. Not only love for God, but love for ourselves, that we want to give our full attention, our best effort to purify our hearts, return to love, suffer no more, return to God, make life perfect. So I'll stop there. And okay. So does anyone have any questions regarding the class? Nope.
I'm forming a question. Give me a second.
Okay. I'm not sure if the recording's picked up, but Meat says he's thinking of a question. It's on the tip of his tongue. It's coming to words.
I know we talked about this before, but how much should someone chant, with people practice different religions, and so, how much should they chant?
Okay. In case the audio wasn't recorded by my streamer, Meat's asking, how much should one chant? And it differs between different religions. And so he's asking, well, ideally, 24/7, say the great saints and lovers of God before us. Ideally, non-stop, as it says in the Bible, pray unceaselessly or ceaselessly, unceasing prayer, to pray ceaselessly. That is the actual goal. But start where you are. Right? How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Don't want to choke yourself trying to swallow a whole elephant at once. It's going to be a little too much. So you start where you are, and then build and build and build as much as you can, as much as you have time for, as much as you have the desire for. And if you could, if you're very, very sincere and serious about spiritual realization, many great masters before have recommended at least 2 hours a day of chanting names of God. Doesn't matter which name or which mantra, chanting names of God. In the Gaudiya Vaishnav tradition, they chant Hare Krishna, and they have a very scientific method of chanting 16 rounds of Maha Mantra, which is the Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It's like 16 names in a row of God. Each one, Hare Krishna and Rama, three different names of God. And they say chant 16 rounds of 108 beads, for example, as their system. But on average, it takes about 2 hours to do that. So, so just chant 2 hours names of God. If you're Muslim, you have a tasbih, you're chanting zikr. La ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah, Bismillah Rahman Rahim, Bismillah Rahman Rahim. If you're chanting Christian style, Abba, Father, have mercy on me, on a rosary. Abba, Father, have mercy on me. Abba, Father, have mercy on me. Or Abba, Padre, ten piedad de mí. Abba, Padre, ten piedad de mí. Doesn't matter what you chant. Different names of God, different mantras or styles. Just putting your time towards it. This is time that's just between you and God. And that's essentially what your chanting time is. It's where you meet with God every day through His holy name. So if you're asking, how much should we hang out with God? Yeah, I mean, how much should we be in contact with supreme love and never forget that? I mean, well, all day, buddy. But as a practice, because it doesn't just start like that, where we get intense joy and love that we just want to remember God all the time, and we're not distracted by all these material things and associations and relatives and work and activities and yada yada, fires to put out. It takes time for our minds to purify and to then begin to operate on a spiritual level and start operate on spiritual energy and getting spiritual happiness before we're getting all we know is material happiness. All we know is the pleasures we get from our senses, including our mind. That's all we know. So can't just give all that up and just be completely devoid of all joys in life. I mean, step by step, step by step. We dedicate some time, even though we don't get the feeling right away, even though there is, it's not like some ecstatic experience right off the bat chanting names of God. Wow, because we're not experiencing. For us, it's just some repetition of words, essentially, from the apparent surface view, and that is going to be our experience, possibly, mostly at first. Everybody, I don't know, you're just chanting these names, chanting names of God, and we have knowledge that God is and His names are non-different, and we have knowledge that He's there in His holy names, right there with us, non-different, and that His association is purifying. We have knowledge of all this, but we don't experience it, though. We act on faith that if you do the work, the experience will come. You keep cleaning, eventually your real self will shine. So in the beginning, we act on faith and take instructions from the Lord's representatives, the spiritual masters, the holy saints, the revealed scriptures. We grind, we clean, we chant on faith, under good authority. We don't just put our faith into something not bona fide, but something backed up, something scientific. And spiritual realization is a science, if you know it, the supreme science of God realization, as delineated in the scriptures and through disciplic succession of spiritual masters, which has been proven. You see, it's a proven science because for a scientific experiment to work, if you follow A, B, and C, you reach D. And that has already been proven in the lives of the unbroken lineage of spiritual masters who've done the work. And in faith, we follow their guidance and we chant and we engage in spiritual practices, devotional service. And we just stay on the path and keep doing it. And if you can work your way up to 2 hours a day eventually, that'd be nice. It's said it's kind of the minimum. If you were really serious about enlightenment in this lifetime, like you want to be enlightened before you died, to guarantee your way to the spiritual world, and not hope that I lived a good enough life and somehow end up somewhere nice. There's no guarantee. Unless you achieve spiritual realization, there's no guarantee where you're going to end up in your next lifetime after death. But for one who's achieved love of God in this life, or just woke up from the bad dream of material illusion, just did the work, essentially, that's all you really got to do, is just do the work. It's that simple. Just keep doing it. And eventually, your days and your nights might fill with wonderful devotional service, and you start getting more joy from it. And eventually you do it because you enjoy it more than all the material activities you used to enjoy. In fact, you're getting more happiness and energy and loving feelings and experience from all this wonderful service than you do from all this other mundane stuff that used to be all about. Or, as Mother Vitasha described it, giving up of a lesser taste for a higher taste. But just like building a relationship takes time. Doesn't happen overnight. The greatest of all relationships, and this is the greatest of all relationships ever, is the one we experience between ourselves and the Supreme Lord. There's no greater loving relationship that we could ever experience. If you think your family loves you, your friends love you, your country loves you, you have no idea. Nobody loves you more than God. It's not even close. Oh my goodness, how much God loves each and every one of us. And he really is our best friend. And we never ask for our bad. We people want to blame God for this and that, blame them for their troubles. Come on now. We all get ourselves into our troubles. We put ourselves in these pickles by our actions. By us, playing with the dice, playing with the fire, material nature, getting burned. But the fire of devotional services, spiritual practices, ooh, that burns away all that karmic reaction. That's the spiritual fire. Ooh, that's the toastiness that melts your heart. So, I recommend for someone who's listening to this who's never chanted before, as much as you can, if you wanted to do this regularly as a spiritual practice, start off 5 minutes a day, or 10 minutes or 15 minutes, however you can comfortably set aside time where it's nothing else you're doing, no multitasking now, just you focus on this one thing. So chanting is it's itself, it's chanting names of God, but it's also meditation and prayer all in one. It's all in one. It's a meditation because of the focused intention, where you're giving all of your intention, all your focus on hearing the sound vibration of the name, and the intention is the prayer. Because in chanting there is a prayer inherent in it, and the prayer is not asking of God for anything, not anything material, nothing for just asking God for God. Just, God, I just want you. I just want you, God. And that calling God's name just so you have God in your life, just so you can be closer to God. That's the prayer inherent with chanting. And that is the intention. And that focus, that meditation, by putting all of your energy on hearing the sound vibration of every syllable of the names of God, of that mantra. And just keep at it. And if the mind wanders, bring it right back to hearing that name. And that makes it a very, very strong meditation in mind control. And the more controlled our minds are, the more we experience peace within. So start where you are, and then make it regular. Do it every day. Don't skip a day. Jesus said, "Give us this day our daily bread." The body needs bread to eat, and the soul needs its spiritual bread. And that's the devotional service. That's the purification of our heart that we need to get us closer to love of God, towards perfection. And a state of perfection which is in our natural state of bliss, eternality, and knowledge, state of the spirit, soul, original consciousness. There is no suffering. Well, it's still the body still aches, but there's no disturbances. You're not worried, you're not sad, you're not lamenting or grieving for anything. You know you're not this body. And you're not worried about death. In fact, you become fearless. Because what have you got to fear? I'm not this body. Anything happens to this body, well, they come and go. I know where I'm going, because I'm not the body. I'm going back home. Anyways, make it every day. Chant every day. And always maintain the amount of time, or the amount of mantras or beads or rounds of beads you chant. Maintain it and increase it. But never decrease and never skip a day. Don't do that. Make it regular. And this is how it works. This is the regular practice. This is the austerity and penances that make all this magic happen. That's the hard work. That's the getting your hands dirty part. That's the discipline. Jesus had many initiates. He initiated like something 70, 80 people actually. But you only hear about 12 in Mary. Why? Because they're the ones who are actually disciplined and did what he said. So that's what disciples mean. Just means you were disciplined and did the work. So you just do the work, chant, 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 and increase little by little. And if you can get up to 2 hours a day, whoa, that's wonderful. That's amazing. You can get up to that much a day. Wow. Tip my hat to you, because that's not too easy to get there. But once you reach that, then it's easy to maintain. Maintaining, because, and that's easy to do because, well, if your desire for God is that strong, well, we always find time for the things we want most in life, right? And then if you can chant all day long, well, all power to you. I mean, there's a wonderful saint named Haridas Thakur, and he chanted 300,000 names of God a day, and it took him something like 21 to 22 hours a day. So he basically slept like an hour and a half a day and ate like a little bowl of rice. Now, this guy was far out. He says, like, this is a saint beyond most normal people. So we can't imitate that. My goodness. Oh my goodness. He was flying on spiritual energy. He was way spiritually realized, trust me. But he chanted that much a day. So he set the bar right there. So chant up to 21 to 22 hours a day if you can. I'm just messing. 2 hours is sufficient. But any is good. And there's no loss or diminution for just doing a little here and there, because any amount of devotional service done is all to our benefit. Hope that answered. And would anyone have any other question on their mind? No? Well, then we can close early. Going once? Going twice? Anyone have a comment that they'd like to add related to the class?
Hey, I have a question.
Okay, you have a question.
Yeah. I don't know how should I ask for devotional service, like we're talking about the chanting the holy names of God. Is it going to be fruitive if we during the chanting we were expecting to get to the enlightenment, or thinking about it, or thinking about, oh, by chanting I'm purifying myself and clearing all the ignorance, and I want to be enlightened. I want to experience to be being with God. Is it a fruitful thing to have?
So you're saying, is it fruitive, or is it a material intention while chanting, having the intention to want to be with God?
Or yeah, something like that. I
Well,
don't know.
well, desiring to be with God wouldn't be a material desire.
Right.
And that,
But how about for fruitive? Being fruitive is just being fruitive in the material things, being fruitive, or in the spiritual. and spirituality we can't be fruity.
I think what you're asking about is, will the different quality of my prayer or intention affect the result?
Uh-huh.
Well,
Uh-huh.
well, surely. So it is the intention of the attention that determines the result. So just putting our attention on something isn't really going to be the only factor and what's going to happen. I mean, just chant. But if you're just, on autopilot, just doing other things, you're not even paying any attention. That's like sitting down at dinner with someone you haven't seen in a while, and you're just on your phone the whole time, you're texting somebody else. It's not really a very loving experience or exchange going on, is it? Because remember, if God is his name, God is not different than himself. Then when we're chanting God's name and we're being inattentive or distracted or doing something else, multitasking, it's the same thing as if you're hanging out with your most beloved and not giving them your attention when it's your time together. The intention, that is your desire. Now, pure intention, pure desire is simply desiring to please God. Just to please him. That God's happy with you. Or to please the spiritual master, please the devotees of God, by doing their will and aligning your will with theirs. That's a pure desire. Not desire anything for yourself, not for any material motive or gain, but just for the pleasure of the Lord and to serve him. That he is pleased is the only reward we need. That's the highest intention, the highest prayer of pure saints. For most, people pray wanting some material results. In fact, when we pray, mostly it's to make of God our order supplier. We're placing an order. God, give me this. God, can you do that? Please, God, do this. Do that. Do this. Do that. Give me this. Give me that. It's usually the prayers of people, the prayers of beggars, really, who only call upon you when they want something. They never hang out. They never do anything for you. And there's nothing wrong. I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying that level of prayer, wanting to get some results, isn't going to be as purifying because there's not as much love in it, is it? There's a little bit of wanting something material, wanting something for yourself, a little selfish. And pure love, or unconditional love, is love that is unmotivated. There's no conditions to it. And it's not given for anything that you might get, but done only for what you might become. Beloved lover, the devotee, the servant of God. Now, as we progress in spiritual life, the more our minds become purified. We get better and better at praying. Our intentions get clearer. Everything gets clear. As your mind and your heart get clear from more and more spiritual practices, so too does your vision, your clarity of mind, and your desires and your intentions. Everything becomes more and more dovetailed towards loving service. It takes time, but any time we turn to God is greater than any time we are forgetful of God. So even thinking of God as an order supplier, well, at least in that moment, in some slight degree, that person is God conscious. At least they are remembering that there is a Supreme Almighty beyond them, that has the capability to supply anything. which he can. So, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. I tried my best to just ask my question, put the words together. I couldn't, but you did. Thank you.
No problem. A lot of people, they think that I should get some feeling from chanting, and because they've been chanting for some time, they don't get some feeling. They think it's not working, and they give it up and they stop doing it. That's because they're faithless. You gotta have faith, and you gotta trust in the process, and you gotta have discipline and stick with it, because you don't just. And also, you're being fruitive because you're just doing it to get some experience. You're just doing it to get some good feeling. Not doing it to be good. Not doing it chanting to be a good person, to make life perfect, to be of loving service, to be the best I can be. But I just want to feel good. Therefore, since I don't get the feeling, bored of this. So many people come, many people go. As Mother Tasha say, quick to cry, quick to dry. Anywho, well, it's been about time. Any last questions? Any last thing real fast before we close? Anything? Last thing pop in the mind?
Yeah, just for me, it was I wanted to be I want to be good, not feel good. So I wanted to just add this one to the end. I'm not looking for just feeling good, although it makes me feel great when I'm chanting. But also, but mainly is I'm looking for being good.
Good. And that's a good desire. It's a desire of a devotee, to be a good person. You want to be the best person you can possibly be, to render the best service you can possibly render for anyone and everyone all around you. And that's what the devotee of the Lord does, because by serving the Lord in love, you vicariously benefit and serve everybody. So, and there. So, all glories to Mother Tasha, all glories to Religion of Love, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the Supreme Lord. Jai.
Sure.